Thank you, Steve. One of the things, just to finish on that slide there, we were really keen on the idea of this open data policy. And you'll see in slides in a moment, we do need to address that some of the data that has been acquired on very expensive platforms to underpin the Galway Statement and the Atlantic Initiative isn't actually accessible yet. In the context of the target pilot areas, and this presentation is about the pilot initiative, we established the requirement to define the pilot survey principles initially, and thereafter we'll define the actual polygons or the areas that we're going to visit. We've got to do a lot of work in the meantime to do a spatial data assessment of what has already been acquired. And we also need to do an industry stakeholder consultation process to see how we can engage industry with this initiative. We also need to develop industrial engagement, and I'm talking about the manufacturers of the hardware, the tools and technologies that we use in mapping, and the software as well. We're already doing research with these industry partners, but we want to get them formally engaged in this process. We have to do this by identifying technology challenges and opportunities for these companies, and to develop the data applications so they can develop their tools to meet our needs to underpin this Atlantic Initiative. In the context of what the pilot will include, we're talking about a phase 1 initiative, which will be optimal multi-beam bathymetric data, which will give us backscatter and water depth and water column information also. That's the primary tool, with magnetometer, gravity and ancillary data also acquired, and some ground truthing if it's feasible. And this was touched on by Terry earlier on today as well. In the phase 2 follow-on initiative, we need to focus in on key sites of specific interest or sensitivity to do a multi-resolution mapping using tools and to look at habitat feature risk mapping for site-specific tools such as ground truthing and video equipment. Both of these can, in practice, happen simultaneously, and we hope that will happen. We already know where there are vulnerable marine ecosystems, cold water corals, and specific sites that we want to visit. So we want to have the baseline mapping, but we'd like to do this in parallel where we already have data. Just to touch base on ocean literacy, one of the things we really are keen on is developing high visual impact ocean literacy material and messaging specific to the work of the Seabed Mapping Working Group, bearing in mind the work that's happening in the other initiatives, and we want to feed our data into those initiatives to generate products and services for education and outreach. In terms of spatial data assessment to design the programs, we want to use existing resources and develop new tools and spatial data awareness tools and the Atlantic data resources that exist to design the pilot studies. This is an example of the National Geophysical Data Centre's bathymetric compilation that NOAA have. And you'll see lots of lines there where there's single transit lines but no major coverage. This is what a lot of countries have, a marine atlas. This is Ireland's marine atlas. Two data layers of 100 showing the OSPAR marine protected areas. We need to know where these are before we go out and start to map. But when you look at them together, you see that there doesn't seem to be any bathymetric coverage where these sensitive areas are, which is a bit of a surprise. And whether that's data absence or not remains to be seen. We're only just starting the data compilation process. We have an eModNet data compilation, which again shows data which is of limited accessibility to the public, but we need to pull all this stuff together to really make sure that we're putting our infrastructure at sea to common interest. In terms of today, we're talking about making the vision reality, and we're fortunate in that we've a long-standing partnership with the Marine Institute in Newfoundland, and our vessel will be heading to Memorial next week. Following that, we're going to undertake a transatlantic transit on the way back. Excuse me. So what we want to do is, it's a 3,000 kilometre trip, which is about 24,000 square kilometres of seabed we can potentially map. It costs about €125,000 to €250,000 to bring a research ship across the sea, across the Atlantic, and we can't afford not to leverage the vessels for this kind of program. We have a new system on board. We'll map seabed and water column. Excuse me. I have a dry throat. Let me just grab some water. Apologies. So the concept here is we really want to get the vessel in the water and start doing, learn by doing, and share the knowledge and develop the technology transfer process. We'll develop the methodologies and the standards and the concepts in terms of technology challenges we have to address for the forthcoming pilot. It is very early days, and with that, I'm going to hand you over to Terry, who will just run through some of the conclusions we've come to as the working group.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.